Hey, what's up, friends? Eric Krumbiger coming at you from Real Estate and Shit, episode 14, if I'm correct. Thanks for tuning in. First and foremost, do not forget, please subscribe below right there in your little corner. Be sure to add some comments. We love anything that you guys say, good, bad, or ugly. Again, thanks for tuning in today. As you know what we do, we go through all the real estate articles. We are all real estate agents in our hyper-local markets, and with all the crazy headlines that we see, we like to go through them with a fine-tooth comb and debunk all the bullshit out of these articles that are put out, because most times these articles are written by, or they're written in opinions of people who are just publicists who know nothing about the real estate market. So, again, thanks for tuning in. Have fun with us today. Leave some comments if you know anything that you guys want to say. So let's get right to it. I got some really, really cool guests today. As you know, we have the famous Sadie.
Still here. Episode 14. Woo!
What's up? How are you, Sadie? It's been a while.
I'm really good. You know what I was just thinking about as you were talking about like debunking the headlines and these writers don't know what they're talking about? I just remembered when I lived in San Francisco, I can't say who it was, because I feel like I'll get in trouble. But I got hired to write for a real estate. It was like a newspaper.
Oh, okay.
I had you met when I first started. I didn't know what freaking real estate was.
Yeah,
I didn't know the word escrow.
Of course.
And they hired me, and I worked there for a week, and it was absolutely horrible because I had no idea what I was doing. And I think, man, they hired me to write about real estate, and I was like 22 years old and knew nothing
about it.
So that just reminds me that
it's crazy.
These articles
anyone
are full of shit
can write
sometimes.
an article. Yeah. I know.
Apparently.
See, this is why we love Sadie.
But yeah, anyways, I'm good. Episode 14.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I love it. And then we also have a new guest today. I was going to say really new guest, but he's just a new guest today. We have Mike DiCarlo. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. If you guys don't know Mike, he is a prominent investor and flipper in our market. He just actually, can I say it? He just joined the brokerage element this week. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Huge things to come.
Yes.
And we thought it would be nice to have him on in his first week, throw him right in the trenches with our podcast. He's got a lot of knowledge on flipping and investing. So I thought for you, the viewer, what better than to have Mike come on to drop some knowledge for you guys today on investing and flipping, because everybody wants to flip properties. Me and Sadie and everyone in the office have been in murmurs all week long. So excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be on. Hopefully I can shed some light to you guys.
Yeah, excited. And you know, it's real estate and shit. So there's some shit in this as well, just so you know.
And you're allowed to say bad words
if you want.
Yeah, you can say bad words. We don't care. We don't judge here. Yeah. These viewers, they can judge all day. Okay, well, let's get right into it. Let's debunk some articles. Let's talk about some things that are happening in our market. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been with you, and some things have happened. You know what's great in this real estate market? It's shifting on a daily basis. What happened tomorrow is nothing like today. What happened last week is just completely separate of what we're doing in the next 2 weeks. It's really nice to be a part of this market. I love it because I like to shift quickly. I've always been like a mover and shaker, so when things are able to change quickly, I'm able to go with it. So it's nice to be in the forefront of the shift. So, you know, we're going to go over some big articles, big box brands. The reason why I have, in my mind, I have a little storyline of why we're going to talk about big box brands and what they're dealing with in this new economy based on small mom and pop brokerages and what they're doing differently, because I do feel there's been a shift between big box to more of the mom and pop. And so we'll jump into it and weave our way through this. So first and foremost, this is an Inman article, and the headline, you know, I love these headlines. Has EXP done enough to shed cost and still grow in 2023? It's like such a dire headline, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a very long article, so I'm not going to go through the whole article with you. It literally is probably like 4 scrolls down. But it does say one of the fastest growing brokerage companies has emerged from the ups and downs in 2022, leaner in support in terms of agent count. This cost-cutting move that essentially eXp World Holdings founder and eXp Realty CEO Glenn Stanford as the housing market deemed essential as the housing market saw transactional levels fall back down to earth after a recent era of ultra-cheap mortgage rates came to an end, he said. So this is what he said. As the executive prepared to turn to the page of 2023, Stanford joined Inman on the video call to discuss with him what's next from 2023. He said, the plan for now for eXp is to keep expanding. at more of a big jog than a sprint like the past years. With low expenses and relatively low liabilities, Stanford told Inman he believes EXP can continue to adding agents to its ranks in this volatile market. Instead of seeing 30% to 40% year-over-year growth, we're looking more like 10 to 15th year-over-year growth percentage points. In the third quarter, the company held more than $134 million in cash on hand and was making more money than it spent, although those profits have been shrinking as the real estate transactions became increasingly hard to find. So, I mean, literally this article goes down and down. It talks about pursuing growth in the shrinking market. It talks a little bit about deliverage while retaining agents. It talks a little more about getting creative on the agent income. It also talks a little more about exploring cutting edge with care, which some of these new programs that they're introducing. But you know what I'm not seeing on these headlines is all it talks about is big bucks. It talks about how they can shed costs. It talks about how they can save money. It talks about how their agents are going to be incurring more cuts and cost cuts for how they're able to work a transaction. For some reason, what I see missing here is the consumer. No one ever cares about the consumer in here. No one ever talks about how this affects the consumer.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also when I see shedding costs of 2023, why is it that Compass and EXP and Redfin and Open Door and who owns, let me see here, who owns Century 21, their new company? It's called, I'll tell you right now. It is called, and we can edit this shit out, Anywhere brand. So Anywhere owns Century 21, they own Coldwell Banker. But all of these companies right now are cutting costs, and they're also cutting employee count. 10,000 people here, 5,000 people here. My question is, why are these big box brokerage companies cutting so much off to save cost?
Well, they're trying to, the CEO, everyone who is higher up, I'm assuming, wants to keep their job. They want agents to have a better bottom line. But like you're saying, if the agents don't have the support they need, then they're not going to give their clients the service that they deserve.
Agreed.
And then you're just in a whole conundrum. And anyway, that's just my feeling about it. But I don't know. I don't know. My cousin works for Compass, and she's been like literally every time she's hanging on each time, and I'm like, you're still in it, girl.
Yeah, you are. You're
She's
still in
admin,
it.
but why would you want to work somewhere that they're like, oh, don't worry, we're cutting costs by getting rid of all of our marketing people and all of this and that because it'll be cheaper for you that way. Because I don't know if EXP is set up the way Compass is, where they have to like pay for their right. They like subscribe for like a marketing.
There's fees that they have to that are incurred. What saves costs in EXP that's cloud based. So there's no brick and mortar. There's no office. There's no place to do podcasts. There's no place to do any of this. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Before I get into my spit on this, what is your opinion on why these big box brands are cutting costs, and do you see an advantage or disadvantage?
Yeah, well, the market has been crazy. So salespeople had an easier time selling, and the money was coming in. It was coming in fast. Mortgage rates were cheap, and the business was there. So it's just a natural progression when everything tightens up.
Correct.
You're going to need to cut costs. I don't know exactly what they're doing. Maybe they're cutting their marketing and doing things like that, but ultimately it's a disservice to the customer.
I completely agree. It's funny. The reason I kind of brought this up was 2 weeks ago, I forgot his name. He's the broker of Rodeo. He owns 6 offices in LA, and he cut 100 agents last week. Or 2 weeks ago, it was a huge article that he just fired 100 agents. So knowing that, knowing EXP is shedding costs, knowing Compass shed 10,000 people, seeing all these cuts around the board, all I feel is they grew too fast, too quickly.
Yep.
And then that alone, as we get into further articles talking about competing against bringing on more agents and bringing on more over the next with all these companies, all I feel is they're bringing on the wrong people.
Yeah.
They're just bringing on bodies at this point. And
I was just going to say that.
Most agents, just so you know, 90% of agents do 80% of the business.
Yep.
So when you got 10,000, or for example, EXP, I think is 85,000 agents right now. The way I'm looking at it, out of the 85,000 agents, there's probably 20,000 or less, probably way less, probably like 5,000 that are doing the business for all 85,000 other low producing agents, which makes them cut costs because the majority of their agents aren't doing the business to facilitate pushing the brokerage further. And why I bring that up is this is happening everywhere. And I don't want to blow up this entire podcast, but the agency, so to speak, I have an article right here. The agency launched a new brokerage. Their 70th franchise in Bend, Oregon. They are growing like a wildfire. You know the problem about this is...
The agency has 70 in...
They have 70 franchises. They have 70
wow.
locations.
I didn't know they had that many.
Yeah. They've been going really fast the last couple of years.
Wow.
Well, this is what bothers me, and this is what I love about what we're doing compared to what these companies are doing, is we're top grading. So what these companies are doing, in my opinion, they're not top grading. And the agency, I'm going to use them as an example, they're just trying to grow and grow and grow and add people into the positions. Well, in my opinion, this is where all the mistakes happen. Yep. The oversight on the culture, the oversight on bringing the wrong people in. And in Brantford, Canada, I have a best friend of mine who owns a brokerage that's really well up there, very prominent in all the different people and brokerages that come into his area. And guess what? The agency came into Brantford. Well, what the agency didn't do is their homework. Yeah. They brought on a broker who had sexual allegations about him through the city that everyone knows about, and this brokerage is suffering and hurting. And there's another brokerage agency that's actually about 20 miles away that people that want to join the agency are actually joining the other agency, so they're not associated with this guy at this agency. Which, when I heard this story and I'm reading all these articles, these companies, they're just making the wrong moves because they think growth is the solution, but just any growth is the solution, and they're not really top grading the right people. And if you guys know the agency, they have strict guidelines, core values that mean we don't hire any. The number one rule at the agency is we hire no assholes. Sounds like they hired an asshole, in my opinion.
I was going to say, I guess sexual allegations are different than assholes. So cool.
Do you guys, right? Assholes. Do you guys relate to this, or is it just something that I've been seeing? Like, do you guys see any of this right now with brokerages just going too big, not hiring the right people on? Does that make decisions for agents that, do they want to be a part of that? Do you think agents that are on the top tier of the agency, or EXP or Compass, that are the top 5,000, do they want to be associated with the other 85,000 that are not doing so well? I mean, I feel like the way I've always been competing in my life, I like to be associated with people that are on the same level as me, and I kind of look down at people that suck. Only because I don't feel they're putting the work in, and they could have, and they didn't. So I don't know. What's your feeling, your gut feeling on this topic?
Want me to go?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, I see it a lot in tech too.
Okay.
And all of these companies that are kind of going tech based in the brokerages, growth in the agency doesn't really mean growth in the profits.
Correct.
So I think it's a mistake, but that's what their model is based on, and they will grow and contract with the market.
True.
And that's what's going to happen. And whether or not they get good talent, they'll probably get a few the people that, of course, like to be totally digital, and they're going to get a lot of bad with that as well.
I agree.
So it's one of the reasons I chose to come here, is that I wanted a smaller team that knows the market and can deliver a good experience to everyone that comes here. So.
Just so you know, I wasn't trying to breed that into it, you said, but that was really what I was trying to thread in today, because, bringing on Chris, that was his main thing that he said. I wanted to be with a small group of people that were high achievers, that also I saw at the same level, like a law firm, so to speak, and that can push me, they can pull me, I can push them, we're growing together, and they're knowledgeable at what they're doing, and they're growing correctly. So, this is kind of the genre of what I'm getting at. It's just when I see what's happening and I see what we're doing, it gets me really super excited of our growth and our potential to not take away from these brands, but the really good agents out there, the ones that are doing the work. I think they want to be associated with more people like us.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, what a shame for a new agent. I don't know, like I said before, I don't even understand how people become real estate agents in companies like that, because you don't have any mentorship. You don't have somebody to coach you, to show you the right way, to teach you how to write a contract, to have social etiquette with other realtors. I'm still learning that too. I don't realize someone said something to me last week and I didn't realize that what it actually meant. Like there's all these little like hidden agendas and everyone has their vernacular and like I have to learn it. And so I just don't understand how you can be successful without a team that helps you grow. And when you're only growing your team and not focusing on the growth within it, that can't be good for the agent, the service they give, the whole brokerage. So that's too bad about the agency because like, I mean, I didn't even know they had that many. I just used to watch Real Housewives. So I know like
they expanded the last couple of years. They really put their foot on the metal. So you know, it's funny you said that about new agents, Sadie. EXP I always use as an example. Any of those type of pyramid schemed or brokerages. Yeah, I know it's cloud based. But the whole concept of that brokerage is to bring people on your downline, and then you get paid on the downline. And the way I thought that there's two types of people, in my opinion, that join EXP. The guy that has 70 agents on his downline because he owns a brokerage, or the brand new agent who has no idea what the hell's going on, and they're sold by the guy at the top telling them how much money they can make if they bring on another set of 10 agents or whatever that may be, and in the future there'll be this, that, and the other. And so it's a mixed bag between these companies. You either have a few at the top and they just flood in the bad. And that is why EXP has 85,000 agents and 10% of them are less, probably more like 1% of them are actually doing the numbers to support it. So it's very interesting. And I'm going to jump into some numbers right now, actually, that we talked about on what these agencies or that these companies plan on doing over the next year. So this next headline is actually very interesting. It says, what happens when the battle for the agent count runs out of steam? So it says, a decade after the Great Recession, a decade, hold on. Much better. A decade after the Great Recession ushered in a new era for real estate. And arguably the most significant change was the rise of newer upstart brokerages such as EXP and Compass. Through the brokerages rise and fall all the time, these new tech batch was something different. They didn't franchise. Some had a backing of venture capitalists. They used new recruiting tactics, and they managed to grow their agent counts very quickly. The result has been massively disruptive. Earlier this year, for instance, Compass dethroned Anywhere, which does Century 21 and Coldware, which owns comparatively ancient, I love it, they said ancient brands. So it says Coldwell Banker and Century 21 as the largest brokerage in the U.S. by sales volume. So they got debunked. That's hilarious. EXP came in as number 4 on that list, but scored the top spot for transaction side. Suddenly, there were new kings on the hill. Says, but the ground shifted in 2022. Mortgage rates spiked, sales plummeted, and there was a sense that new and more challenging chapters for real estate was beginning. And that raises an important question. What does the shifting landscape mean for real estate's new pecking order? To better understand it, they kind of went through some stuff. So it says, why agent count? Most obviously, agent count growth rates are a useful way to gauge the broader rise and influence of the company. The companies that have climbed to the top of the heap have been the ones that grew their headcounts the fastest, which is sad in my opinion. But also, headcount has lately been one of the real estate's primarily rhetorical battlegrounds. Every few days, it seems the biggest names in real estate announce that they have recruited some top producer, usually by poaching that person from the rival. Over time, these moves have grown increasingly harder. All that means that the agent count is thus both useful measure of actual influence in real estate as well as a way to gauge the state of intensity in the industry's rivalry. So it goes on to say the battleground is drawn. So it goes into saying that there's been lawsuits, how they go after each other, this, that, and the other. But it says Compass, thanks to rich incentive programs and general aggressiveness, Compass has held the gold standard of leaning into agent count growth as a means to dominate the real estate industry. They give perks, they give money away, they give settlements away. But it goes into graphs here of the overall agent count. And it says it shows quarter one of 2021 all the way through quarter three of 2022. And it shows that at one point they were growing at 30%. Now they're growing at 2.5%. So as you go through EXP, by the way, EXP is growing significantly. EXP, you go through Compass, you go through Anywhere, and Keller Williams. It gives you an idea of the percent change in agent count by quarter. So it says, what immediately stands out from this graph is that all 4 companies appear to be converging. In other words, their growth rates are looking more and more similar. That has long been true of legacies Anywhere and Keller, but now the upstarts are beginning to fall into some stage of growth range as well. It says, why does this matter? The good news for these companies, I don't know why my mouth's so dry. The good news for these companies that experts who spoke to Inman did not see slowing agent growth as a kiss of death. For instance, Justin Ages, the analyst for Burmer Capital Markets, who researched publicly traded companies like EXP and Compass, they're both approaching it correctly from the opposite ends. In this market, to thrive, you need to attract and keep producing agents. Compass says we have this platform on the other end of the spectrum. We have EXP. They don't have any of this. It's an all-in-one platform, but they say we have a bunch of different tools, and it's an 80-20 split, which is definitely higher in other industries. Kind of goes on a little bit into more numbers of this battleground. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about of agent growth and agent numbers. And all these companies care about are one thing. All they care about is bringing on more people. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you know what got me there is when you said the split, because I think one thing that the way they get a lot of people is by that split, because I mean, I don't know what the industry standard is for a split, because not everyone talks about that. But for me, when you see something that's high, you have to think like, okay, they're giving me this because they're not giving me anything back. The only thing they can offer me is to give me more on my commission. And for me as a new agent, that's not interesting or intriguing at all. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, cool, I'm going to keep 80% of the $0 I make this year. How does that make sense?
Correct.
So I feel like that's how they get a lot of young and new people like, hey, we have the best split, but guess what? You're not going to make anything because you didn't sell anything.
It's actually, I'll jump into commission in a second, but Sadie, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
I love when I do that.
Well, it's really funny, Sadie, you said that just about commission and like that aspect. I've always hated commission conversations only because when I got into real estate, I was in for growth. And I got the ass end of most commission because I was new. But you know what's funny? I never thought about commission once. All I thought about was how much I'm learning, how much I'm growing, and how this can benefit me in the future. And this will all change eventually, but this is, you're putting your notches on your belt, so to speak. And I knew it was part of the process because I couldn't learn this by myself.
Yeah.
I've had so many agents. I wouldn't say so many because I'm not going to boast myself, but I would say I've had about 12 agents over the last 3 years that I've had interviews with to come in here that attracted me to them enough where I had them walk in our office. And these are not all the people. These are just 12 bad examples. And it's very interesting. Well, I've come to find out personality traits. And not a lot, but when I have a conversation with an agent and I'm trying to recruit them, what I'm trying to look at is their growth set, their growth mind of what they want to do. But there are some people that walk in this office and sit down and they're like, okay, what's the commission split?
Yuck.
Do I get an office?
Where's my cubicle?
No, I'm Sadie. No, not cubicle. They want an office. There's an ego in real estate, and it starts from the bottom up, not from the top down, I think. And it's these low-level real estate agents who do 5, 10, 15 transactions a year that think they're top shit, and they walk into these interviews or these meetings in their mind with how can I put more in my pocket going over there rather than what can I do to grow, and then eventually 10 times what I'm doing instead of just looking at like these small percentage factors. And it's just been very interesting. They've always been really young bucks. No women have I ever interviewed that asked commission, but young men in their early 20s, it's like usually it's the first question that comes out of their mouth. Like in the first 5 minutes.
Relax.
It blows my mind away. It's like almost having commission breath as a real estate agent trying to get a sell. Yeah. You know what I mean?
God, that's not cute.
No, not cute at all.
Well, I did so many internships, like when I was in college, all that free work, and people do internships all the time. So why don't you see a commission split that way?
I agree.
This is it's still a paid internship. You're getting a split.
True.
You're getting money out of it. So,
true.
I mean, but yeah, people who are young people. I mean, I've met people who are my age, like the person who called me to wish me Happy New Year or whatever, and they like to play it off like they're doing really well. And they're like you said, hot shit. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but that's not attractive.
It's not. And you know the beautiful part about fake it till you make it is when you talk to someone that actually can look at the numbers.
We love
data. There's been so many people that have walked in like, did 30 deals last year, 40 deals, 50,000, whatever it may be. I'm not going to rat her out. Is she in here? Sue. I'll never forget it. Sue walked in and she's like, I do this, that, and the other. Da, 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 da. And I was like, Sue, I'm looking at here and it shows that you did this. And she was just like, wait, what are you looking at?
Where's the pipeline?
It was so funny.
It's all public.
I love her. It was one of the best interviews I think I've ever had in my life. Okay, so I'm going to move on a little bit. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, it's just there's a lot more than just commission.
Oh my God.
And being in a good community and a good support system, I could already tell like there's going to be just deals and things to make more money other than just a commission split.
Oh my God, Mike, I was talking to my wife. Yesterday, I think, or the day before, talking about you, and she's like, "Does he work LA?" I'm like, "Yeah, he works LA." She's like, "Eric, do you know how much opportunity comes across my desk?" She's like, "I have a lot of investors that I work with." She's like, "I would love to just be passing it on to someone that's connected to what we're doing."
Yeah,
and I was like,
part of the network.
Correct. Yep. So Carrie is definitely going to be connecting with you.
Sounds good.
She's got a lot of, in the agency, they're part of TAN, Top Agent Network, and all these different like secret community things.
Yeah.
And these off-market and fixers just fly. It's a very interesting market in LA. It's completely different from here. But here you can find most things on MLS or mail things out. There, nobody wants it's these like rich people that don't want to get their names out. They don't want to put their things on the market.
Yeah, she was saying that on one podcast. It's like a pocket listing, but not, and it's like a pocket listing service.
Correct.
Only certain people can
There's all kinds of ways.
Service. It's really weird.
I know.
It's cool though.
It is.
And now you're a part of it. Welcome.
Yeah. We're excited.
We're excited. Society.
It's funny going off that. This is kind of up your alley, so I'm interested to get some information from you. But this is an opinion piece, and it says foreclosures, forecasts, and fix and flips. What Adam's data can tell us about 2023. So I'm going to read you some of this and let me know what you think about the data that they're for seeing in 2023. It says, will there be another tsunami of foreclosures in 2023? What opportunities there for agents to help 255 borrowers who are in default on their mortgages? Is fix and flip still a viable model, or has it evolved into a different approach? Here's what to expect in each of these areas in 2023. It says, I recently interviewed Rick Sarga, the Executive Vice President for Market Intelligence at Adam Data. Do you know what Adam Data is? I've never heard of it.
No,
okay.
I've never heard of that.
About his predictions, about general trends, foreclosures, and what's happening in the fix and flip market, in parentheses. It says, will there be a foreclosure tsunami in 2023? So it says, Adam's Data has been tracking foreclosures since 1996. When were you born?
1995.
Ooh, 1 year after you were born.
Yep. But I was born at the tail end, so we're right there.
No, I like it. As a result, Sharga often gets asked if we should expect a foreclosure tsunami in 2023 like we once experienced during the Great Recession. According to Sharga, there's good news. There's virtually no chance we're going to see that kind of foreclosure activity again. Before the pandemic, foreclosure activity was running a little low compared to historical numbers. That was largely because of the changes in lending practices that were put in place back in 2010 as part of Dodd-Frank Act, including the qualified mortgage rules and the ability to repay rule. Sharga said these changes have resulted in borrowing being immensely more qualified than the last. Loan performances has also been extraordinarily strong, causing foreclosure activity to drop from a typical 1% level to about 555 loans to about 250,000 loans, so almost half. Says impact of COVID, 2 additional programs that dramatically reduce the number of foreclosures, which I think if you're in the market, you know about this. It's the foreclosure moratorium, as well as the forbearance programs. Sharga explained that during the last 2 years, the foreclosure moratorium was in effect. The only foreclosures we saw in commercial loans and vacant abandoned properties. In addition, the forbearance programs allowed homeowners to call their mortgage servicers and say their income has been impacted by the pandemic. This allowed borrowers to postpone their mortgage payments for up to 2 years. About 8.3 million borrowers took advantage of that program. There are only about 300,000 left in the program. Wow. There would be even fewer, except we had some people from Florida raise their hand about the hurricane last month. The bottom line, it's been an increasingly successful program and probably prevented 3 million to 4 million unnecessary foreclosures from happening. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's great legislation.
Great. That could have really put us into a recession, in my opinion. It says as we exit these government programs, we see foreclosure activity running now about 50%, whereas in 2019 we could double that number and still not be back to the normal levels of foreclosures are. So there's really no big foreclosure tsunami building up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great policy, by the way. And
great policy, I agree.
I'm not a big government guy usually, but this was a great policy implemented, and it obviously saved a lot of people.
I agree.
So, they were able to, just extend and tack on these payments to the end, which doesn't really affect, lenders that much. So I thought it was a great program. I have not seen foreclosures, and that's what I target and market a lot.
Okay.
Through cold calling, direct to seller marketing. It's not there.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
interesting. I've heard the same thing.
It's really not there. I have seen people getting a little bit scared from all the doom and gloom on the media.
Yeah.
And so I've been getting properties to flip
more
so on that
aspect
than foreclosures.
So these headlines help you.
The headlines are helping me.
Wow, I love it.
Podcast
over. Cut.
Hold on. It's actually a nice little intersection for flippers out there right now because the sentiment in the market is it's crashing.
Yeah.
And the interest rates have now dipped twice this month.
Correct.
So people are picking up my inventory that I have listed.
Yeah.
And I'm able to buy cheaper.
Yeah, it makes sense. Actually, there's a 25% increase of loan applications last week when the interest rates dipped down. So interesting.
It is all interest rate. The demand is
everything's interest rate
absolutely
based.
There.
Before I really I'm going to get into this, but I want to ask you a question about this in a second. It says so. Getting back to it, it says, "What's your forecast for 2023?" Sharga said Adam's data is pretty much in alignment with what NAR and other outlets are reporting. According to Freddie Mac, we have never before experienced a doubling of mortgage rates in a single calendar year. The result has been that affordability has taken a major hit, and there's been a significant decline in the number of transactions, which we're going to talk about the number of transactions in a second. Says prices have declined for the last 4 months on month-over-month basis, although they're still up on a year-over-year basis. In 2021, we had between 6.1 million to 6.2 million in sales. For 2022, we're probably looking at 5 million to 5.1 million in sales. And for 2023, we're predicting anywhere between 4.8 million to 4.9 million range. A lot depends on what happens with home prices. It says, nevertheless, he was very optimistic. He said mortgage rates may have already peaked since they have plateaued or even declined in some cases. It looks like the Fed is starting to get inflation under control and act less aggressively in raising the Fed funds rate. I expect mortgage rates will eventually work their way down into the 5s in 2023, and we can see a recovery in the housing market as early as the middle of 2023. I agree with that sentiment. It's really interesting. Before I get both your opinions, so we went from 6 million to 5 million to this year. They're predicting 4.8 to 4.9. So really just 100,000 less off of last year when it comes to sales. Well, I saw a statistic at a conference at Tom Ferry last week. Shout out to Tom, and he had a data from Orange County and Los Angeles agents. And in the marketplace of Orange County and Los Angeles last year in 2022, 36% of agents in those marketplaces did more business last year than they did the year before. Okay.
Wow.
Think about that.
Good for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
35% did the exact same number of business that they did before. Okay. 24% did less business than they did before. So 70% of the agents last year in Orange County and Los Angeles did the same or more than they did last year. But on here, we did 1 million less transactions or 1 million less in sales according to this data. So what this data is telling me is we are now in a different type of market. We're in a skill set market.
Yeah.
So what's happening is the big fish are eating everything. They are taking advantage because people want to use skilled agents in this market. No one's using their mother and no one's using their best friend because times are tight. When times are tight, you trust the professionals to do the work for you. And it's interesting to see, looking at these numbers, looking at the data in Orange County and LA, knowing what we did last year. We had a record number last year, just so you know. We had our best year ever. And not to like boast bubbles or anything like that, but when I see all this, it does keep me very optimistic with these numbers aside. Yeah. Just knowing that the people out there are using the skilled set, which aligns with our brokerage of what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very interesting.
One more piece to add about the sentiment in the market is that Jeff Bezos and all these people are setting up massive funds to do fractionalization and to buy up America.
Tell me more.
Yeah, no. I've been reading about it. The news has been negative interest rates going to 10%, and now all the big players, all the big money institutions, BlackRock, they're all setting up massive what they call vulture funds to buy up single family homes. So they're saying one thing and
doing the other. Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
they want the deals.
They own the media.
Do you guys know the last time they did this? Do you guys know the last time they did this?
I would imagine the last
2009, 2010, and 2011. Hedge funds came through and sucked up all the inventory and rented them out for the next 5-7 years, and then unloaded them in 2018, 19, and 20. Jesse, one of my good friends, was part of that, and he still works with a lot of his portfolios. And you're right, that's exactly what's happening right now. It's very interesting, you know. Well, in all reality, it's been happening. It happens in every industry.
Yeah, I mean, this is not. But
the smart people in this, we see it. Yeah. You know, like, we know this, but no one knows this stuff. Wow. Okay. So he goes on to say, it says, will low inventory create a seller's market in 2023? I like this one. So it says, Sarga argues that we will see a seller's market, but nothing like we experienced over the last few years. And this is true. The lack of inventory coupled with demographically driven demand is going to help keep home prices from cratering. So that actually is a good thing. The builders have pulled back and housing starts significantly since the market turned. That's actually not a bad thing either, because one of the problems during the Great Recession was builders overbuilt. During the crash from 2005-2007, we had a 13-month supply of homes. He went on to say that the builders aren't going to rush back into the market until the buyers come back. In addition, since 70% of homeowners have mortgage rates at 4% or less, think about that. 70% of homeowners have a mortgage rate of 4% or less. They are probably going to be reluctant to sell for a while and take a higher interest rate. I do think the market recovers. It will be a little bit back towards the seller's market, but not fully back, as it was an early part of 2022 or 2021 or the end of 2021. You're not going to have 30 people bidding on your house when you put it on the market. You need to be realistic of your price. That I agree with.
Agree. And I've seen that play out in my listings.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm looking for 650,000, I'll list it at 625.
Always.
And I get multiple offers and it goes up there.
Yeah.
It always goes up there.
Sweet spot.
But when I list at 675,
no.
So, anyways, I've changed my
it's
strategy on
like
listing.
It's funny you said that. When I first got into real estate, it was always list high and, you know, maybe get that, and you kind of drop down over 30 days. And then all of a sudden, after like my third year in real estate, being with Tom and everything I was doing, the philosophy changed and the strategy changed. But you know how hard it is to get a buy. Flipping's different. You know how hard it is to get a buyer to bite on the formula that we're going to undervalue your home to the point that we're going to get multiple offers, and you're actually going to get more money than if we put it at the high price.
I struggle with that.
I struggle with that too. I'm the worst seller ever. When I sold my place down in Marina Del Rey, I listed high and I waited. I had offers. I didn't even respond to them. I was just like, this is it. You're either going to do it or you're not. I was like, such an asshole seller. I ended up getting my price. Different market. But the strategy going low and getting more, it always works. I have never seen a story where someone says, I undervalued the home and I got nothing.
Yeah, no.
People see a deal and they jump on it.
Yeah.
I saw something, I don't know, like right when rates were going up, it was like $720 for a house in North Upland. And everyone was like, what the heck? And so I went there. They didn't even have an open house. I think I went like later that afternoon. And they were having like an open house, like a showing, but it wasn't like a Thursday. And we went and there were probably like 30 people with their agents at this house that had just been listed because it was so far under. And I'm sure that house, we could go back and look, but I guarantee you it went for way more than $720 because the value was way higher.
100% it did. Yes, it did.
I mean, they did the right thing.
They did the right thing. Yeah. It's smart if you do it right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to get more into Mike's forte. So his last question they asked him says, what does the data say about fix and flip? says Adams Data has been doing quarterly fix and flip reports for quite some time because they believe investors are an important part of the real estate ecosystem. Look at that little pat on the back.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
These fix and flip investors are the ones who are bringing inventory to the market that previously wasn't available for a traditional home buyer. Our third quarter fix and flip report is a classic good news and bad news sort of report. The good news from flipping perspective is that in terms of the number of properties flipped, it was the third highest quarter in 22 years that we've been tracking the data. About 92,000 properties were flipped during that quarter. Wow. It says the bad news to this is the numbers have trended down. The quarter is the second consecutive quarter that they're going down. And more telling, we saw both gross profits from flippers and profit margins suffer a bit. He went on to warn that those who watch flipping shows and decide that they're going to make a fortune flipping properties, that the current market can be brutal. Profits can quickly get eaten up in decline depreciation and or price declines, high material and labor costs, supply chain problems, and increased days on market. Moreover, most flippers obtain bridge loans for 12 to 18 months. At the beginning of 2022, those loans were at 7 to 9%. Today, we're looking at more of 10 to 12% plus points. That's a pretty meaningful difference in terms of financing costs. You really have to sharpen your pencil and do your math exceptionally well in order to make sure you don't get into a deal that doesn't pencil out many and may cause you to lose money in the transaction. It says, I think experienced flippers are not necessarily in a bad place because there's still demand for people who would like to buy a house. In fact, one of the trends we're seeing in some reports as well as hearings about anecdotally is that as many as 20% to 25% of prospective home buyers today have opted to rent instead because of affordability concerns. It stands to reason that if someone was interested in buying a home, they might be interested in renting one rather than renting an apartment. So that does work out for the fix and flippers. It says his final take on 2023 is that it's going to be another tough year for housing, but not dire as some forecasts are seeing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a dire year. If anything, stability is one of the best things that I can work off of. Yeah. Instead of boom or bust. Yeah. So hopefully we find that 5.5% interest rate that kind of settles everyone down. Yeah. And there's not drastic policy that changes it and doubles it again. We're not going to see that again. Okay. And I think, interest rates, as they get inflation under control, keep creeping down and create a stable exit price.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So as long as I can determine what my exit price is and I know my rehab costs and my interest holding costs and the days on market, I can back into the right numbers. And so, it's just been trying to find that. It's hard. Q3 and Q4 of last year was a blow. Okay. So
what do you see for 2023? So let's go personally for you.
Yeah.
You did what, 30 flips last year? I don't really know.
Yeah, 40 flips last
year. You did 40 flips last year.
Oh
Congratulations.
God, that's almost one a week.
Yeah.
So on the 40 flips, I know you have multiple teams working. It's not just, one by one by one.
Right.
What are you predicting or what are you projecting for this year? What is your goal for this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to beat 40.
Okay.
For sure. I would love to get 50, 60 flips in.
Okay. So the market is obviously in your benefit right now.
Yeah, I've been buying as aggressively as possible right now.
Yeah.
Especially in January, this month I've locked up 3 already.
Wow. Congrats.
To buy right now to flip in spring.
I love that. It's very interesting on buying right now. We've been saying this since the day we started this podcast that, I just bought a property, closed escrow a couple months ago. My sister bought a property. A lot of my friends in real estate have all purchased their properties. And what I'm seeing from the people in the industry, they're taking advantage of what's being dealt to them right now, as opposed to why everyone's on the fence right now, scared. Yeah. It's like they're the ones that are actually doing the moving and shaking and taking advantage of opportunities because maybe I'm stupid, but when I purchased my property, I was the only offer. Yeah.
Married the house, date the rate.
Seriously, I did. I married the house, I dated the rate, and I thought to myself, being in the real estate 2 years ago, I've seen 15, 20 offers on these things, and people are giving away their firstborn to get the home. And it was nice because I got to walk in. I got to look at the inspection. I got a nice inspection, got the report. I had a nice request of items that I would like to be fixed. I even asked for them to help me on my rate. Yeah. I felt like I was in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it already fell out of escrow twice, part of me getting into it.
Oh, you're in the sweet
spot. So I felt like I was in a sweet spot. Yeah. I thought I was a genius, but why isn't anyone taking, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a genius. I just thought I was a genius, but why isn't, I just don't, it blows my mind why people are not taking advantage of this beautiful market.
Yeah, it's crowd think, and
it's so true.
It's just sentiment, and it's built up by watching your phones and watching TV, and everyone's told you it's gone down, and so that's what you think it is. But when you're looking at it, you're able to get into a great place, whether you're buying a home for yourself or, in my case, flipping the home. You're able to get a great price right now, and the rate is only temporary.
Correct.
And so I've done it, and I've switched out of loans and turned them into rentals and just waited for the market to come back. So there's so many different strategies, and the short-term bridge lenders are happy to work with you too.
Of course.
By the way.
Yeah, they are.
They like the money turning.
Yeah, of course.
And you making payments, not defaulting.
Defaulting,
So they may make money doing that, but that's not their business.
Man, don't watch this show, guys. Like, these are just good facts of what you should be doing. Go back to read all the headlines. Go back to read all the articles.
Exactly.
Continue what you guys are doing, and nothing's going on here. Nothing to see.
It's easier to just like not care or to just like listen to the news and that's
Crowd
all
think.
you're gonna care. Yeah, that's totally what it is. And like, you used to be a CPA, right?
Yep.
So you're great with numbers. You understand how numbers work, which is probably why you're successful in flipping.
It's the biggest part.
It's
I guarantee it.
It has to be. Like, you're talking about percentages. I'm like, holy shit, there's so many things that go into this, but people don't want to look at the numbers and the data, and that's where you're gonna see that it is a good time to buy. I mean, if it's a good time for you to buy, it's a good time to buy.
Correct.
So,
well, most people don't think it's a good time for them to buy, and it's funny because we use our verbiage when it's a good time for you to buy. You know what? I'm over if it's a good time for you to buy. It's a good time for anyone to buy. Even if you can't get your expenses together, like, go and borrow from family. Like, this will pay back in 5 years, 2 times, 3 times over, and then you're the point that you get to enjoy where you're at, you know, what does Chris always say?
Quality of life.
The quality of life, that even would enhance your ability to grow and excel in your own personal life. So I took that route when I did the quality of life because I bid a hard one. You know, my interest rate's close to 7.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but again, I'm dating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a girl I hate. But, you know, eventually her and I are going to break up, and I'm going to go find a more attractive woman.
Yes.
And we're going to go walk into the sunset. So, okay. Well, you guys, I really do appreciate both of you hopping on today. Viewers over there, you know, if you have any questions for Mike, feel free to put them in down below. I'm sure will be available to answer anything that you guys ask. Want to thank you, Mike, for coming on today and putting some knowledge. Even, you know, I learned a couple things today as well. And so very grateful for you to be here today.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'll come back anytime.
Yeah, you're definitely invited.
We're here every Thursday.
You're right.
Thursday.
And then Sadie, you know, it's always wonderful to have your energy and who you are. You're one of the smartest people that I know and hang out with. So it's, you know, it's nice
and
to be
adding
surrounded.
real life experiences to everything we're talking about.
Exactly. Well, she's the real life experience queen.
I used to be a bartender, so I've been through it.
Oh, she knows. So yes, guys, don't forget to subscribe below. Be sure to leave some comments. Thanks for tuning in. I hope we didn't waste your time. And I hope you guys got at least one thing out of today. Be sure to check out our past episodes. And for everybody else, we're going to see you guys next week. Cheers.
Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.